6 wealth acceleration rules. The system does not want you to know. Write that down, because I'm only going to say this once, and I mean every single word of it. Right now, today, you are either building a machine that makes you richer while you sleep, or you are a hamster on a wheel that somebody else built for you. There is no third option. None. The bank that holds your savings account is not your friend. Your employer's retirement match is not a gift, it's a leash with a nice bow tied around it. Every system you were taught to trust growing up, school, credit cards, safe investments, the whole 9-to-5 script, was built by people who make more money the longer you stay exactly where you are. And I'm not here to make you feel good about your situation, I'm here to make you dangerous to that situation. By the end of this video, you're going to understand 6 rules that separate people who actually get rich from people who just get by their whole lives. And I promise you, none of them involve coupons, side hustles you hate, or skipping your morning coffee. This is real. This is how the game actually works. And I built my entire career on understanding it. Stay with me, because I'm not slowing down. Before I give you rule 1, I need something from you. And I'm not going to dance around it. What I'm about to teach you is worth more than a lot of financial advisors will give you in a year of paid sessions. I'm handing it to you for free right now. No catch, no upsell at the end. All I want in return is one thing, and it costs you nothing. Hit subscribe before I go any further. Not after this video, not maybe later. Now, I guarantee you halfway through this, you're going to want to come back to this channel for the next one. And I don't want you scrambling to find it in 6 months, wishing you'd just tap the button. Subscribe, then let's get into the 6 rules. Rule number 1, stop trading time for money, because that trade never accelerates. It just repeats. Here's what nobody sits you down and tells you when you're 22 years old, taking your first real job. A paycheck is a fixed unit. You work an hour, you get paid for an hour. Tomorrow, same trade. 10 years from now, unless somebody hands you a promotion out of the kindness of their heart, same trade again. That's velocity. Steady, predictable, and completely without acceleration. I built my first company, Micro Solutions, doing something fundamentally different from selling my personal hours to somebody else. I built something other businesses needed, software solutions, and I sold it over and over without my own time being the bottleneck on how much I could earn. That's the entire game right there. When I sold broadcast.com to Yahoo for billions of dollars, nobody was writing me a check for the hours I personally worked that particular day. They were paying for something I had built that kept producing value, whether I was sitting in an office or not. That is the fundamental difference between rich and comfortable. Comfortable people spend their whole career trying to optimize their hourly rate, negotiating for a slightly better salary, hoping for a raise. Rich people build things that generate money independent of the hours they personally put in on any given day. I don't care if you're an electrician, a school teacher, or a guy selling t-shirts out of his garage on the weekend. Ask yourself constantly, what am I actually building here that will still make money if I take a week off and don't touch it? If the honest answer is nothing, you don't have a business. You have a second job wearing a disguise, and it owns you more than you own it. Start small if you have to. Take one skill you already have sitting in your head right now and package it into something repeatable. A course, a digital product, a service someone else can eventually run without you standing over their shoulder. That single shift from selling hours to selling something scalable is the first real crack in the wall the system spent your whole life building around you. Think about it in terms of ceilings. A job has a ceiling built right into it, whether anybody admits it out loud or not. There's a maximum number of hours in a week, and there's a maximum rate anybody is going to pay you for one of those hours, no matter how good you get at your job. A built asset has no ceiling. Like that, a piece of software, a brand, a rental unit, a small stake in a growing company, none of those care how many hours you personally work this week. I watched entrepreneurs on Shark Tank make this exact mistake over and over. They'd come in proud that they personally handmade every single unit they sold, and I'd have to tell them straight to their face, congratulations, you built yourself a job, not a company. The moment you can't step away for a month without the whole thing collapsing, you haven't built acceleration. You've just built a more exhausting version of the paycheck you already had. Ask yourself right now, honestly, if you got sick tomorrow and couldn't work for 30 days, would any money still come in? For most people, the answer is no. And that single answer tells you everything you need to know about whether you're playing the velocity game or the acceleration game. It's not about quitting your job tomorrow. Most people can't and shouldn't. It's about starting in whatever spare hours you actually have to build one thing on the side that doesn't require your direct hour-for-hour presence to keep producing. That one thing might make you an extra $50 a month at first. That's fine. The dollar amount isn't the point in year one. The muscle you're building is the point, because that muscle is what eventually replaces the paycheck entirely. Rule number 2, debt is a weapon, and most people get handed one pointed directly at their own head without ever being told how it works. Here's something that's going to sound like it contradicts every finance guru screaming at you online. And honestly, I don't care. Debt itself is not the enemy. Bad debt is the enemy, and almost nobody teaches the difference. There is a massive gap between borrowing money to buy a depreciating asset like a brand new car or the newest television and borrowing money to buy something that generates cash flow or appreciates faster than the interest you're paying on it. When I was building my businesses, I used leverage constantly, but every single time it was pointed toward assets that could realistically pay for themselves. A maxed out credit card balance from a vacation is not leverage. That's a trap disguised as a monthly payment plan. A loan on a rental property that cash flows positive from day one. That's leverage actually working for you instead of against you. The system benefits enormously from you being confused about this distinction, because confused people take on consumer debt at 24% interest to buy things that lose half their value the second they leave the store, and that same system rewards them with a marginally better credit score for doing it anyway. Meanwhile, people who understand acceleration borrow at 4 or 5% to acquire things that generate returns of 10, 15, 20% or more. It's the exact same financial tool, debt producing two completely opposite outcomes, because one group understands acceleration and the other group never had anyone. Explain it to them. Before you take on any debt at all, ask yourself one question and only one question. Does this debt buy me an asset that pays me back faster than the debt itself costs me? If the answer is yes, it might genuinely be smart money. If the answer is no, you are quietly funding somebody else's acceleration, using your own future paycheck. I want to give you a real gut check here, because this rule is the one people misuse the most to justify bad decisions. Plenty of people hear debt can be a weapon and immediately go finance a boat or a watch, telling themselves it's an investment in their image or their motivation. That's not what I'm talking about. And deep down, you know it. A real test is simple. Could you sell the asset tomorrow for at least what you owe on it? And would it keep generating income while you held it? A rental property that covers its own mortgage payment passes that test easily. Financing a lifestyle purchase you can't actually afford in cash does not pass it. No matter how you dress it up on social media, the system wants that confusion to persist, because a nation full of people carrying bad debt against good intentions is a nation full of permanent customers. Rule number 3, ownership beats income every single time. And most people never make that switch in their entire working life. I meet people constantly who are proud of how much money they earn in a year. Doctors, lawyers, sales guys, absolutely crushing quota every quarter. And I respect that hustle. I genuinely do. But earning a big salary and being actually wealthy are two completely different games, and most high earners never realize they've spent their whole career playing the wrong one. Income is what the system loves keeping you focused on, because income gets taxed the hardest. Income disappears the moment you stop physically showing up, and income has a hard ceiling. There's only so many hours in a day you can personally sell to somebody else. Ownership works differently. Ownership means you actually hold equity in something, a business, a piece of real estate, shares in a company, and equity can grow in value without you adding a single additional hour of labor to it. I did not get wealthy from a paycheck sitting in an office. I got wealthy from owning pieces of companies that grew in value, whether I was actively grinding on them that particular day or not. Every single time I sit across from an entrepreneur on Shark Tank asking me for an investment, the very first thing I look at is never how much they're currently paying themselves in salary. I look at what they actually own. What percentage of the company sits in their name? What real assets are sitting on that balance sheet? That's the actual scoreboard that matters. If you're renting your home right now, you are paying somebody else's mortgage every month and building their equity, not yours. If you're working a job with zero equity component whatsoever, you are building somebody else's company in exchange for a fixed weekly fee forever. Start asking. In every job offer, every deal, every partnership, what do I actually own at the end of this arrangement? If the honest answer is nothing, you are renting your entire life instead of owning any piece of it. Let me give you the version of this most people never hear. You don't need to start a company to start owning things. Ownership can be a small handful of shares in a business. You actually understand it can be a percentage stake. You negotiate into a job offer instead of a slightly higher salary. It can be a partnership on a single small rental unit with 3 other people you trust. The scale doesn't matter nearly as much as the habit. What matters is that you start training yourself to ask the ownership question in every single financial decision you make. Because most people go their entire lives without ever asking it once. They negotiate salary, they never negotiate equity, they rent an apartment for a decade, they never ask what it would take to own a piece of a building. Instead, small ownership stakes held for a long time in things that are actually growing will outperform a big salary parked in a savings account almost every single time. Because a salary is a number and ownership is a percentage of something that can multiply. Rule number 4, your first dollar should buy you skills and assets, not stuff. And the order you do this matters more than almost anything else on this list. When people get their first real paycheck, the system trains them immediately to go spend it. Upgrade the apartment right away. Grab the newer phone, lease a nicer car they honestly can't afford yet. That is not an accident, not even a little bit. Advertisers spend billions of dollars specifically engineering that exact impulse, because a person who spends everything they earn is a permanent, reliable customer for life. I lived in a cramped apartment with several other guys long after I could technically afford something better, because every dollar I didn't blow on rent was a dollar I could reinvest into inventory, into my business, into learning something that would compound over time. This isn't a suggestion to live like it's still the 1980s forever. It's entirely a suggestion about sequencing your money correctly. Early money should go toward exactly 2 things: skills that increase your future earning ability, and assets that produce more money on their own, a course that teaches you to code, a certification that doubles your salary within 2 years, a small stake in a business you genuinely believe in. Those are acceleration purchases, every one of them. A car that loses 20% of its value the moment you drive it off the lot is a velocity purchase. It doesn't compound anything. It just sits there depreciating while you keep making payments on it every single month. I am not telling you to never enjoy the money you make. That's not the point at all. I'm telling you the sequence matters enormously. Buy the assets first. Let them start compounding quietly in the background, then buy the lifestyle upgrades, using the returns those assets throw off, not using your original paycheck. Do it backwards, the way most people unknowingly do, and you'll wake up at 60 years old wondering exactly where 30 straight years of income disappeared to. Here's the part that really gets me. Nobody ever goes broke from one big purchase. They go broke from 100 small ones that all felt reasonable in the moment. The slightly nicer apartment, the extra streaming subscriptions, the car payment that was only a few $100s a month, each one on its own looks harmless, stacked together over years. They quietly eat every dollar that could have gone toward a skill or an asset that actually compounds. And I tell young people all the time, the years right after you start earning real money are the most powerful years you will ever have. Not because you have the most money, you don't, but because you have the most runway left for compounding to work. A dollar invested in your skills or in an appreciating asset at 25 has decades to grow. That same dollar spent on a lifestyle upgrade at 25 is just gone, and it never comes back to help you. Rule number 5. Information moves faster than money, and most people are pulling their information from exactly the wrong source, which quietly caps every other rule on this entire list. Here's a truth about wealth that almost nobody says out loud in polite company. The people who get rich fastest are almost always the ones who get access to good information first, and the system profits enormously from keeping regular, hardworking people either uninformed or flat out misinformed. Watch financial news for one solid week and count how many times the advice boils down to just buy index funds and wait 40 years. That's not necessarily bad advice on its own, but it is advice specifically engineered to keep you patient, passive, and predictable, while other people out there are actively building and moving. When I was buying and building companies, I wasn't guessing at any of it. I was reading everything I could, physically get my hands on about where technology and consumer behavior were realistically heading next. The internet made research easier than any generation before yours has ever had access to, and most people still barely use it for anything beyond entertainment. They scroll for 3 hours a day and then genuinely wonder why somebody else spotted the opportunity first and moved on it. Rule number 6 connects directly to this one, so I'm folding it in right here. Surround yourself with people who are already doing what you actually want to be doing, because proximity to good information and sharp decision-making is one of the most underrated accelerators that exists in the entire world of wealth building. If everyone in your immediate circle is complaining about the economy repeatedly, you will slowly start believing the economy itself is the reason you're stuck in place. If everyone around you is building, closing deals, taking smart, calculated risks, that becomes your new normal. Instead, almost without you noticing it happen, I did not build my first company surrounded by people constantly telling me to be careful and play it safe. I built it around people who are also betting hard on themselves at the same time. Change your inputs, both the raw information you consume every day and the actual people you surround yourself with regularly. And I promise, you will be shocked at how fast your own decisions start changing right along with them. This is why I always tell people, be genuinely careful who you let into your inner circle when it comes to money decisions. Not because you need to cut off family or old friends, but because you need to be honest about who you're actually taking financial cues from without realizing it. If the 5 people you talk to most about money are all cautious about the exact same things, playing it safe with the exact same jobs, worried about the exact same expenses, you are getting a very narrow slice of how the world actually works, and you are mistaking that narrow slice for reality itself. Go find one person, just one, who is doing something with money that scares you a little, and ask them real questions about how they think. You don't have to copy them. You just have to understand there's more than one way to play this game, because right now the system has convinced most people there's only one safe path, and that belief alone is worth billions of dollars to the people who benefit from you never questioning it. So here's my challenge to you. And I mean this exactly the same way I'd say it to any entrepreneur sitting across from me on that Shark Tank stage asking for my money. Pick one single rule from everything I just walked you through, just one, and take one real concrete action on it within the next 24 hours. Not next week, not when things settle down a little, 24 hours, starting the moment this video ends. Look at one piece of debt you're currently carrying and figure out honestly whether it's working for you or quietly working against you. Ask about the actual equity in your next job offer instead of only negotiating the base salary. Cancel one subscription you don't need and redirect that money toward a real skill. Instead, it genuinely does not matter which single rule you pick first. What matters enormously is that you stop simply consuming advice and start actually applying it. Because information without action is just expensive entertainment, And entertainment is precisely what the system wants you doing instead of building something real. I have made a lot of money across my life and I've lost plenty of it too. And the one factor separating every time I moved forward from every time I stood dead still was always the exact same thing: action. I didn't get to where I am by understanding these rules perfectly the first time I got here, by applying an imperfect understanding of them consistently year after year and letting the compounding do the rest of the work. That's available to you too. Starting today, not starting when you feel ready, because you will never feel completely ready. Nobody does. Drop a comment below and tell me which one of these 6 rules you're starting with this week, because I genuinely read every one of them. Subscribe right now if you haven't already, because I'm going to keep bringing you the real version of this, not the watered down, comfortable version. The system is perfectly happy with you believing instead. Now go do something real with what you just learned.